Emporio Ivankov is the new and improved way to play blue. With cards like Monkey D. Luffy and Emporio Ivankov, this strategy relies around discarding and drawing an insane amount of cards. If you enjoy content like this, make sure to subscribe. First off, we're playing 4 copies of Buggy. Buggy's a fantastic card in this deck. On play, you get to look at the top 5 cards of your deck and add an Impelled Down character to your hand. Next up, we're playing 4 copies of Alvida. Alvida not only is a 2-cost 2k counter, it also has a pretty good effect that you can attach 1 Dawn to it and trash 1 to your hand, and then bounce a character of 3 cost or less. So the card has a great effect, and it's a 2k counter, so there's no reason not to max out on it. Next up, I'm playing 4 copies of Doflamingo. Doflamingo is great. He is a 3-cost blocker. On play, you can also look at the top 5 cards of your deck and stack them however you like and put them at the top or bottom. So you get to maintain knowledge of what you're going to be drawing with the rest of the draw cards in the deck, which I mean, that's just so good. Having the ability to know exactly what you're going to be drawing makes a world of a difference throughout the match. Next up, I'm playing 2 copies of Mr. 2. His effect reads that when you have 1 Dawn attached to him and you attack, you can look at the top 5 cards of your deck and add a Baroque Works event card. The effect isn't that great if I'm being honest, but it is another 2k counter, which I appreciate. A common theme throughout my deck profiles is that I really value 2k counters because I think they make the biggest difference in the late game. Next up is 2 copies of Boa Hancock. Boa is quite simple. She is a 4-cost blocker with a 5k stat, and when you have 1 Dawn attached, when you attack with her or block, if you have 5 or less cards in your hand, you get to draw, which is very free and very solid. Next up, we have 4 copies of Mr. 3. He's one of the better cards that came out of Paramount War for obvious reasons. He's a blocker and is a 1k counter with a cost of 4, and he has the effect that at the end of your turn you can trash 1 card from your hand to restand him. So he hits life, he deals some damage, and then by the end of your turn you can discard a card and restand him, which is just perfect for the strategy as you always want to be discarding, as that allows you to draw even more cards. So this card is perfect for the strategy. Another really great addition from Paramount War is 4 copies of Inazuma. Inazuma is another 4-cost blocker with the effect that reads, if you have 1 or less cards in your hand, it gains 2k stat. So this blocker, which is a 4-cost blocker, gets to 7k. And because of the way the deck is built and designed to, you're always going to have very minimal cards in hand, so the effect is always going to be live. So on top of this card also being a counter, it's a no-brainer to max out on. And then I am also playing 4 copies of Mihawk. The effect is pretty good though. You can attach 1 Dawn, and then when you're attacking, you get to draw 2 cards and then discard 2 cards. Next up, I'm playing 4 copies of Mr. 2. I don't love this card. In testing, it's been very okay, but it is, again, a 2k counter. I love that. Its effect reads that when you have 1 Dawn attached to it and you attack, you can trash 1 card to your hand, but 1 character with a cost of 2 to the bottom of the owner's deck, and then at the end of the battle, Mr. 2 also goes to the bottom of the deck. So yeah, the card's okay, it provides a neat utility, which I definitely appreciate. However, I don't summon it that much. Maybe I should be summoning it more. I don't know yet. I have to test a little bit more with it. But again, 2k counter, love that for the deck. I'm also playing 4 copies of Crocodile. The reasoning for playing him is quite simple. He's a 5-cost with a 7k stat, which means he hits a magic number. Cannot complain about that. But more importantly, he is an Impelled Down card, which complements another card, which I'll be showing off later. But it's a fantastic card and one of the main reasons for maxing out on Crocodile. And he's a counter, which I can never complain about. And now for one of the best cards in the entire deck, 4 copies of Monkey D. Luffy. This card is so broken because it has an effect that requires no Dawn, by the way, that on play or when attacking, you get to discard 2 cards from your hand and then return a character with a cost of 4 or less to the opponent's hand. Then Luffy also gains double damage, and since he has 7k stat, he's already hitting the magic number. This card is going to help you close out games. Keep in mind you get the effect on play, and then on the following turn when you swing with it, you get the effect again. This card is just so good and definitely a card you want to max out on. And now for the card that makes this entire deck what it is, 4 copies of Emporio Ivankov. Ivankov has the effect that reads, on play you get to draw until you have 3 cards in hand, and ideally this is the last card in your hand, so you just play it, draw 3 cards, and then you get to play 1 Impelled Down blue character with a cost of 6 or less from your hand. So ideally with Ivankov's effect, you can summon Monkey D. Luffy for free, you can summon Crocodile for free. This card is definitely just one of the most unfair cards in the deck and is the reason why this deck is so good. And lastly for the characters, I'm playing 3 copies of Mihawk. Card is quite simple. On play, you get to return a character with a cost of 7 or less to the owner's deck. It is expensive. It's one of the cards you want to play towards the end of the game, but the stat is 9k, so you're going to be hitting so hard, and it's definitely a card you close out the game with. And finally, I'm not playing any event cards, I'm just playing one stage card, and the card is 3 copies of New Kama Land. The effect is so good, and it reads that if your leader is Emporio Ivankov, you can draw 1 card, then trash 1 card, and then trash an additional 3 cards to basically maintain having no cards in hand. For a 1-cost stage, you really cannot ask for much more. And that's my Ivankov deck profile. If you have any questions or advice, make sure to drop it in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe.